It took us almost 3 years to conceive via IVF, and we tried many things before being successful. So this is our story. This is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, go watch part 1 so that part 2 can make sense. So we decided to move on from IUI to IVF. We knew that we only had 2 vials left and the donor was no longer in the program, no longer donating, and we couldn't buy any extra. So that was it. Once those 2 were gone, they were going to be gone. So in order to basically make it spread, make it work, we needed to move on to IVF. And also we didn't want to keep spending money and keep failing because they had no explanation of why the IUIs weren't working. So we informed our current fertility clinic at that time that we wanted to move on to IVF. So we had an IVF consultation. They sent us a quote. If I could, I'll tell you the price, or I might put it here, or show you the breakdown. They quoted us like $36,000 without medication. It was just for the procedure. It was just for the procedures, and 1 transfer without medication. And medication could be like another $8,000. So we talk about $40,000+, and we was just like, I don't know, like we not paying that. We got this type of money to pay $40,000 out of pocket. They was talking about finances, getting out loans and all this. I was like, we both, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. That wasn't the route. We did not want to take out that much money in loans. We did not have it to pay $40,000 in cash. So we was like, we need to find another way to make our dreams come true without doing IUI, but also on a budget. So I got to researching. And baby, when I say, my wife said I could find any and everything. She said, well, our research is not how everybody else research. She said, it don't be coming up the same because I be digging deep. And I could find so many different things. So I started researching. I found different fertility clinics in other states that had affordable options. I even saw that people were traveling like to Mexico for affordable procedures and things like that. That's something we didn't do. It's nothing against it. We just didn't feel comfortable. We didn't do it. And we found different clinics, and the clinic that we landed on was CNY Fertility. CNY Fertility, which basically for the same procedure that our current fertility clinic was quoting $40,000+ CNY was quoting us like $7,000. So we was like, we think we gonna go here. Yes, we gotta travel because they didn't have a location where we were, but we was like, even we like to travel, so we gonna see what these areas about. But also, like, once you incorporate travel costs, we're still paying way less than half of what this current fertility clinic want. So we decided to go with CNY Fertility. So with reading reviews, I'm gonna be honest, they did not have the best reviews. The main thing that I did find that people were complaining about was 2 things. One, that they were not like babysitting. They were not holding your hand every step of the way for everything. Like, they just kind of gave you instructions and told you what to do, and you hope for the best. And the second thing was the billing department was crazy because of the financing option. We weren't financing. We were paying out of pocket. Like, we were going to pay cash for the amount it was. We'll pay in full. Let me say that, not cash. We were going to pay in full. So we're like, okay, we're not going to have to deal with the financing billing department. And we're both self-sufficient. So we didn't really need anybody holding our hand. So it's like, we're fine. Like, I do research. I'm pretty self-sufficient. So I didn't feel like I would need somebody to be holding my hand. So we went with them. We booked a consultation with them. I think the wait was about, I'm not going to lie because I don't know. I can look back to my emails to see, but I think I have to wait about 2 or 3 months for a consultation. But once we got the consultation, we got everything transferred over. I think that was probably before the consultation. We had to get all of my medical records and all of that transferred over from the other fertility clinic, all of my tests. We did the consultation, and then once we agreed, we had to get the sperm shipped there for the process. We knew that we were going IVF route. There was no other, we were not talking about IUI. So we knew that we were going to need the sperm there in order to do retrieval and things like that. So first things up is our retrieval. I did a retrieval. I think that had to be June or July. I'll tell you. I'll put it here. I had to do a retrieval. Retrieval was maybe 2 or 3 months after the consultation, but we had to order meds and everything. Everything was out of pocket because we did not have insurance, but that is how they go. They tell you the meds you need. Like, they send you a list and say, this is what you need for the protocol. This is how much you take. This is when you take it every day. Like, it'll say Friday, take this dose for, you know, this many times. Like, every day was a breakdown. So our information was transferred to the pharmacy. We ordered everything we needed. We got everything. We made sure, you know, dot our I's, check, what is it? Dot our I's, cross our T's, and make sure we had everything because we didn't want to get started and we didn't have everything. Now, actually, I do remember we did make a little hiccup. Well, we didn't. The pharmacy was like, oh, no, you don't need to order this specific medication yet. You wait until you're like 7 days away because it has like a limited time that you can use it. Like, it will basically expire by the time you need it, so you don't want to order it too early. But then when we needed it, the shipping was going to take longer than when we needed it by. So we had to like hurry up and rush and try to like find it within our local, which was a disaster. Like, it's a disaster. Just order everything. But anyways, during this time, we, you know, I took shots every day. My wife administered every shot that I have taken throughout this entire like process. You got it? 225. Look, it's bleeding. I'm sorry. You talk about I wasn't ready.
No, clearly I wasn't either.
Oh,
That hurt.
oh,
It hurt.
that burn. It did. The first one was okay.
I feel like I really had to say to you again.
Come on, take the needles out.
I didn't have to poke you twice. I look like you got 3 shots. I just need to write down all my steps for my little checklist.
Oh my God. Hopefully I don't bruise. You gotta wipe that off. Like, from IUIs to IVFs to retrieval, every shot that I have ever taken, she has administered except for one. And that was only because we were in the airport. She lost her shoe and she was being held at TSA. And that shot needed to be given at the exact 10 o'clock on the dot a.m., like 10 o'clock. So we couldn't wait. But other than that, she has administered every shot. So every day I was taking, I think, 2 or 3 shots. I wouldn't mind sharing my protocol, but I don't know how YouTube is gonna do if I say these names. And I also don't want to share because I don't want you to say, oh, I'm not doing that because it didn't work for Sunny, because it may work for you. But I basically was on their standard regular dosage. I wasn't on low stem. I wasn't on a high dosage. I was on a regular standard retrieval protocol. Even though I probably shouldn't have been, because I had certain levels that were great and indicated otherwise, but that's neither here nor there. We went through that.
It's got to be 90 degrees, right? Wait, you can't do it like that. 90 degree. Wait, now don't let this fall. Wait, babe, don't. It look like you about to stab me.
I don't know how you want me to do it.
Yeah, but hold on, back up. Maybe should I let my seat back? Let me see.
I was good for probably like the first week on meds. Then my emotions started. My wife says I was worse during the retrieval process than I have been throughout the whole pregnancy, because them emotions was they were a joke. And I was like, I'm aware of my emotions. I'm a self-aware person. So I'm going to know. I'm not going to let it take the best of me. Baby, when them chemicals...
Man, she was on one.
Baby, when them chemicals get in your brain, it... Woo! Okay? I know it was a problem when we was in like Target. No, we was in like Marshall's. And people were like walking down the clothing aisle, because I wanted to just walk down without having to stop or maneuver. And people was walking down. And I'm like, why they here? Like, I was wishing horrible things on these people. And I'm like, what? I'm not like that. And I'm like, I think the meds is tripping. Like, I think causing me to trip. I was tripping on my wife. I was saying stuff to her I had never said before. It was not a good time. I did have appointments during this time. You're going to have a lot of appointments because they want to check the follicles. How many are growing? Are they growing at an adequate amount? So I went for probably appointment at one point I was going to the appointment every other day. Every other day I was going to the appointment. Once the follicles reached a certain size, they did tell me to trigger. If you remember from the first video, this released all the follicles, but I had to trigger twice. So I triggered that night and then the next day. The thing is though, when we were traveling, we never could book flights ahead of time because we don't know when my body would be prepared for retrieval or transfer. It didn't matter. We literally booked flights like a day or two before. So they might say, oh, everything looks good. You're going to trigger tonight and then trigger again on Friday and your retrieval will be Saturday morning. So I'm booking a flight right now for Saturday. Also, during the retrieval process, I did get OHSS. This is basically hyperstimulation of your ovaries, and it can cause bloating, constipation. It can cause a lot of things. And specifically after retrieval, you can be in extra pain and it could be pretty bad. After retrieval, I was in pain, but it wasn't too intense how some people experience OHSS. And I did experience extreme bloating though. Like, I looked pregnant. We were good. I booked a flight. Once they said everything looked good, we triggered. This is the trigger. This is the time. I think this is the time where we got caught in the airport. Babe got caught at TSA and I had to trigger immediately at 10 a.m. and it was like 9:57. So I had to hurry up and go to the bathroom and if you remember what I told you about me and needles and stuff, I was in there about to hyperventilate in that stall, but I had to think about to go like, my baby is going to be here one day. And this little needle is not going to be a problem. But we got there the day before, chilled. This is Syracuse. We flew to Syracuse to do the retrieval. The next morning, went in, they checked me in. It was an easy process. They did make sure the payment was good. They made sure everything was paid for ahead of time, as they should. But we went in, and they rolled me back. And I remember, well, they didn't roll me back. I walked back. I walked back, and they put me to sleep, the retrieval process. But then there's a wait. So they tell you right there, oh, how many eggs they were able to get. How many eggs they were able to get. Because all follicles don't have eggs and all of that stuff. You can look up the things. But I may have had, let's say, 20 follicles. And they only got 15 eggs. I'll tell my numbers. I don't remember them off the top of my head. I think they got 22 eggs the first time or something like that. But then you have to wait a few days to see how many of those eggs mature, how many of them are able to fertilize, how many of them make up to day 3, day 5 embryos, and then those day 5 embryos are frozen. And then some people do fresh transfers before they freeze. We did not do that. We decided to do a frozen transfer, but we waited. We did not do it immediately. We didn't do it immediately. After the retrieval, I was in pain. Like, not pain where I couldn't walk, but I couldn't walk fast. I couldn't like jump onto a bed. Like, I just was uncomfortable and I had to kind of take slow little stutter steps. So it was manageable, but I was constipated for like a week. And that's one of the symptoms of OHSS. And outside of that, we were pretty good. I was good with retrieval. They give you meds for the OHSS. I took them, so I was good. We did take a break though. After retrieval, we took a break. We said, okay, they got these eggs. We got these embryos. We good now. Like, we good. We can get pregnant any day. We want to go on Tuesday, we can get pregnant. So we good. Like, we was okay with taking a break. We are now down to 1 vial because we used that 3rd vial for this retrieval. And right now we're taking a break. We are taking a break. Retrieval was in June or July of 2022. We took a break until 2023. We said, well, we'll do a retrieval in 2023. We're going to give ourselves the rest of this year to enjoy. We end up moving to another state. Like, listen, it was a lot going on at the end of 2022. So we waited. We knew that in order to unlock certain pricing at CNY, we had to have a transfer within that year of our retrieval. Like, they give you a discount if you have your retrieval and transfer within the same year. So we knew that we wanted to do that. So we started about in March and April, telling them, hey, we're ready to transfer. What's the protocol now? So now we're getting ready for transfer. And this is probably the easier part of the journey, but for us was the hardest because it was so easy to do, yet so soul crushing when the failures came. Okay, so it looks like we started the process to prepare for transfer in May. I am looking at some of my pictures and see some band-aids here and things like that and different shots we were taking. Also, something that came up, the word hope. I want to put this here so that we will remember it forever. Hope was a word that came up constantly throughout this journey for us, and it was very near and dear to our heart. But we prepared for transfer. We basically did the standard protocol, the basic meds that's needed. No extra meds or anything. We just did the basic meds. I don't want to say it, just so I don't want the video to get flagged, but we did the basic meds and hope for the best. We even did a Build-A-Bear. We went and built a bear. I'm looking at pictures. We built a bear. Excuse me. We built a bear and put intentions into this bear because this bear is going to be for baby. We did fly to Syracuse and wait. We did not fly to Syracuse. We drove to Syracuse, y'all. I'm looking at the pictures and videos. We drove to Syracuse and transfer was scheduled for June 6, 2000.
It is the morning of transfer at 4 o'clock in the morning. And there is a baby hollering next door and have been hollering for at least 30 or 40 minutes non-stop. I don't know if you can hear it in the back, but how ironic. This is my first time ever hearing a baby cry in a hotel. And we have stayed in many, many hotels. And the baby is just hollering to the top of his lungs. Never have I ever. I feel like this the ancestors and God being like, y'all sure? Y'all sure? Because why else? I cannot go back to sleep.
23. We did all of the things. We did the McDonald's fries. We did the wait. Now, it's not a 2-week wait like it is for IUI, but there is a wait for testing. We did test before, let's see, we tested, it looks like about 7-8 days after transfer.
Oh God. What are we looking for? 2 lines? 2 lines? Yeah. Go ahead. Oh God. I'm so nervous. Got 1 line. Nope. Nothing. Still early, still. Now I feel like okay. We wait again. Am I tripping? No. From this angle, but I should have used more than me. It says 5 days before missing period is a 64% chance that it will read accurately. And my missing period would technically be Monday or Tuesday. So how many days is that? 5. So now. Still hope. Fingers crossed. You want to cross your fingers? Cross your fingers. There's hope. Hope, hope, hope.
It came back negative, and at this point I think we decided not to test and waited until our blood results came back, which is called the beta. Our beta came back negative, so this transfer failed. There was no sign of implantation. There was no sign of anything. So we said we're gonna jump right back into it. That's what we did. We said we're going right back into it. Why take a break? And remember, we're trying to get as much bang for our buck for the transfer within that year of retrieval. So we go right back into it. We say we're gonna go back into it. This time it was hard, but I won't say we were prepared for a failure, but we already experienced some failure and we had took a lot of time to heal. So this failure hurt, but it didn't break us like other ones did. So during this time, we still enjoyed each other, dates, all of that good stuff. We prepared for second transfer. Second transfer was on July 7th, 7/7/2023. This protocol was a little different. They added more meds. They added antihistamines and other little stuff that they're like, yeah, you should do this. You should do intralipids and do acupuncture and all of this other stuff that they wanted to add on. They added on a lot of stuff. At this point, we were confident. But something that was still playing in the back of our head was that our embryos were not tested. That is something I probably should have said a couple minutes ago. But our embryos were not tested, which means that we were not sure how great of quality. Like, they were graded but not tested. So we don't know if they were genetically normal, chromosomal normal. We don't know if because if the genetics of an embryo is not normal, it could cause the embryo to not implant. But we didn't want and couldn't pay for how many embryos I end up getting. I forgot, but we put like at least, I think 15 embryos on ice. So to test those was $8,000+ for embryos. And we just was like, we got enough of them to go through them. Like, one of these gonna work. Not considering our emotions throughout this process of like, yo, to transfer 15 embryos, y'all gonna be probably like numb. You probably ain't gonna have no emotions. So I wouldn't change anything. I just wish there was probably an affordable way to test those embryos so that we would have had a little more confidence. But we were confident because they're like, oh, well, the only reason this didn't work is because you got to take this and do this and do that and do this. So we're like, oh, we got a plan at work that's supposed to work, rather. So, you know, I'll insert some pictures so you can see. We did do a better or more medicated protocol for our second transfer. The first transfer was it started out as a medicated transfer, but it had to end up switching to a modified natural, I think. And then the second one was a fully medicated transfer. And what this means is like, basically, do they wait until you ovulate naturally? Do they force you to ovulate? Or do they use your ovulation? It's basically like the ovulation part. It's not medicated as far as how many meds you take and things like that. This is also not a like informational video. But they tried different things. They let me ovulate on my own. Then they also gave me things to ovulate. But we went and we transferred. This time, I think we tested. I'm looking. This time, we did not test. I'm looking through my phone. I do not see videos or anything like that. We did not test. We waited until our beta results, which came back negative. So, second transfer, it failed. This is when we're like, okay. Our emotions like, well, dang, we did all of these protocols, all these meds and stuff that they recommended, and it still didn't work. And at this point, they're like, oh, it's unexplained infertility. Your numbers are great. Your textbook perfect. However, nothing is working. And we are past that year mark after the retrieval, so we are not necessarily in a rush or trying to go back to back because we are trying to get a discount. At this point, it's going to be the price because it's after the year. So we say, well, we're going to go back, but we need to have a call. We need to have another consultation. We need to go back to the drawing board. We did meet with a doctor. He did have some recommendations, which we followed. We followed his recommendations. I was on a certain medication for 3 months in order to prep for the transfer. So from July, I think the last transfer was in November. So yeah, I was on a medication for 3 months. We had to wait some time for the consultation, take the meds to prep my body. So he did recommend to take these meds to prep my body, also to consider surgery, which would have been a laparoscopy. Like, it will be explorative. Like, they don't have any proof that I had endometriosis or PCOS or anything. Like, yes, I had elevated numbers in certain categories, but I didn't have any other symptoms. But it was like, well, we could do an exploratory, like just go in there, cut you open and see, and if something there, take it out. But if not, that's that. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with that. They also recommended testing the embryos. I'm like, yeah, but how we pick which ones to test, you know? Because testing all of them was not a thing. He recommended transferring more than one embryo at this point. He also recommended basically doing the highest protocol they have, because when women can't get pregnant, this is the protocol they use. So we agreed to a variation of that protocol. And we started prepping my body for those 3 months. preparing for the transfer. Through this time, through these three months breaks, we still was living life. Life still continues to happen. We were enjoying each other. We were being more intentional about going on more dates, spending more time together, because our emotions were getting, I won't say the best of us, but they were. During this time, our emotions were like it was starting to take a toll on us again. This time, probably worse than the failed IUIs. We were still, talking to family, doing stuff. Still, nobody knew. Listen, you don't know what people are going through to conceive or have a baby. This is why you mind your uterus. Don't ask people about when they having a baby or whatever like that, because you don't know what people are going through. You do not know. If so many family members, so many people were asking us, when y'all gonna have a baby? But we were trying very hard for many years behind closed doors. So mind your uterus. But we were experiencing, how life is. We were experiencing different things. We'll go somewhere, see a family together, or we'll see so many people announce pregnancies, or we'll see people have gender reveals or go to gender reveals, and then people be disappointed and crying in the gender that they're having, and we're just we just want a baby, right? Family members having babies, and just different things that was just yo, what is happening? What is happening? And it really started to wear on us. But during this time, we were intentional with each other and prepared for a transfer to happen. And we were supposed to go into protocol, I think, in September. A full protocol based off of the recommendations of the doctor and based on what we were ready to do. So, and I think this was the end of September, we started prepping for another transfer. Yep, because I see the meds and everything. We started prepping for another transfer, which would have been at the beginning of October. This transfer ended up getting canceled because one of the appointments, when I went, they suspected that I had polyps. They were like, your uterus look a little funny. Let's see. They did a SHG, which is a saline ultrasound. They put saline in your uterus, light it up to see if you have polyps, fibroids, or anything like that. I did come back positive for polyps. They did find polyps. They it's polyps right there. And we need to remove them. You have to have surgery in order to remove these polyps. You can do a transfer if you want, but we don't recommend it because the meds could cause the polyps to grow. And if the embryo implants, they can grow at the same time, and you can need to have surgery. It can cause the embryo to not implant. So many things. So they you got to get the polyps removed. And at this point, when I say defeated, I remember that appointment yesterday. I was just I just took months off to prepare. I did everything. I did all of the protocol. I did all of the stuff. And now it's at a standpoint. I can't even, I need to schedule for surgery. So the options were, remember, no insurance. We pay, I think they told us $30,000 or something to somebody in Georgia, or we travel to Syracuse to have the surgery there for, I think, $2,000 or something. So we had to schedule me for surgery because I remember just crying my eyes out. I was just if it's not one thing, it's another. The embryos ain't implanted, and now I got something else implanted and growing now, but my embryo can't implant and grow, whatever. So we scheduled for that to get a hysteroscopy. I'm pretty sure it's hysteroscopy, but whatever. For me to get a hysteroscopy, we traveled to Syracuse, had a surgery, got the polyps removed, and then now we gotta wait because we gotta wait on the next cycle to start. All of this is a waiting game. You have to wait for your cycle to start. Even after a failure, you have to wait for your cycle to start. You can call on the first day, hey, my cycle. They say, okay, come in on day 3 or 4. Get an ultrasound. Then, okay, come back on day 10. Okay, start the meds. And then you start the meds. And then you go back to the ultrasound and get one every 2 days. And then you do blood work to see. That's what it is. Constantly. Over and over and over. It's a waiting game. It's constantly a waiting game. You're waiting for your cycle to start, or you're waiting on this day to come, or you're waiting on the mess. You're just waiting. So we start to wait again. This time, the same protocol is in place. Continue what you was doing. Take all these meds, all these shots, all this, everything. I was up to 4 shots a day. I was taking 4 shots a day, and I think 20 something pills in one day. I was out of it. Okay, like I was doing all these other protocols. They were saying, do get this, do this. I was doing all of the things. Every single thing they said do, I did. He said also I recommend transferring 2 embryos instead of 1. Okay, boom. Let's transfer 2. Because at this point, we were only transferring 1 embryo. So let's transfer 2. Let's do the thing. We prep for the 3rd transfer. We shall see. 20 units. So we flew the first transfer, drove the second transfer, drove for the surgery, and then we flew for this transfer. This transfer, we made it up in our heart, minds, and soul. We say this is our last time coming to Syracuse, at least for this, right? We did all the things that we weren't doing any other time because we were like on a time crunch. So we did apple picking. We did sightseeing. We went to the winery. Like, we just was living life in Syracuse for the, whatever, I guess, living life. This was at the beginning of November of 2023. And we said, this is our last time. It felt like our last time. I'm like, baby, it felt like our last time. This gotta work. It's gonna be successful. And she's like, yeah, this is our last time. I feel like we kind of saying goodbye to Syracuse. Yep, sure is. We said goodbye. We went, we had our transfer. We transferred our 2 little M babies. We did the thing. We did the acupuncture. We did the washes and the boosters and all of that stuff. This time, we could not test because I was on certain medications that would give me a false positive. And baby, I wasn't about to put myself through that. We wasn't about to put ourselves through that to try to figure out if the positive was a real positive or a negative positive. We wasn't doing that. So we decided we weren't going to test at home. We were going to wait for beta. We go to beta. It came back positive. The beta was positive. It was not low enough to say, oh, you're not pregnant. But it also wasn't high enough to say, oh, you're absolutely pregnant. So you know what they say? Come back in 2 days. Let's see if it doubles. Okay. We go back in 2 days. The number almost doubles, right? So if it went from a 6, it went to 11. So almost double. They like, oh, this is probably a good sign. Come back in 2 more days. And it kept going up. I'm like, hey, I'm stopping this shot, this particular medication that is causing these positives. And I ain't doubling. And I don't think I'm pregnant. So I made the decision. I said, I'm not going to take the test. And I'm not going to take this med no more. I'm not going to take this med because if I am pregnant, this hormone is going to naturally grow in my body. So I don't need this medication anymore. And I'm not tested anymore because this is driving me insane to go give blood every 2 days to say, oh, we not sure, come back. We not sure. I say, I'm not doing that. So we going to wait. And if my cycle come on, then obviously I'm not pregnant. And if my cycle do come on, I'll be calling y'all, let y'all know we need to schedule ultrasound or something. Sure enough, about 2-3 days later, my cycle came on. And again, we're not pregnant. We're not pregnant for the 5th time. 5th time. 5th time. This year, this particular year, 2023, we weren't pregnant for the 3rd time. Right? But overall, for the 5th time, we found out we were not pregnant. And we say, this time, in some of my videos and in the videos we found out we weren't pregnant, you'll see me kind of like laugh from nervousness, anxiousness. This time was different. I cried. Like, I felt defeated because I did all of the things. And at this point, I was at my breaking point because I had done all of the things. I did the prep work. I did the surgery. I did all of the shots, all of the pills. I was taking so many damn pills, it didn't make no sense. I was taking pills 3 times a day, and it was, I'm gonna insert picture so you can see. It was a crap ton of them. I was taking shots. I was literally every night in pain. I had bruises everywhere on my stomach because one of the shots caused bruises. Like, I was exhausted from the process, but my body was exhausted. I was just over it. And I felt like I couldn't take it. Like, I was at a breaking point at that point, and I was like, I just can't. Like, I can't. And I remember on the stairs crying, and Babe hugged me, and she was like, our time will come. And I was just like, I don't want to hear that, because our time, when is our time? Like, tell me when is our time so we can stop trying until our time is here. Because what? Like, she's like, it's going to happen for us. And when it happens, it is our time. It's just not our time right now. And I won't say she handles it better than me. She just copes differently because she was crushed every time too. In some of the videos, you can see that when I'm sitting there like hopeful, you can see her crushed in the face in some of the videos. So we handled it 2 different ways, but it was taking a toll on her too. Crushed, to get your hopes up every time. And it's like we kind of said, it was a different kind of insanity to every month to regather the hope, to be like, oh, this is the month. And then to be let down and then come back and say, oh, this is the month. This is it. Yes. Like, I felt like we were crazy people. But we needed to be crazy people in order to make it through, in order to keep going. But at this point, November, and it was like right around Thanksgiving time. And then a very distinctive experience. Like, these are people that I don't really know. We know them, but we don't know them. They're friends of family people, but we don't know them. And we have probably had 3 or 4 interactions with them. And when we were in the same space, one of the people in the relationship told me, they were like, we were talking about different stuff, but she was like, oh, yeah, I just found out yesterday morning I was pregnant or something like that. She was like, yeah, we went through IUI, IVF or whatever. And this was our first IVF cycle. And we got pregnant the very first time. And I had just found out our IVF cycle was not successful. Maybe it was less than a week. And I'm like, oh, well, she was like, yeah, I haven't told anybody. You're the first person I'm telling. I'm sorry, what? I was like, God, ancestors, universe, I know we got to be playing right now. Because what? Like, why am I the person that you're telling the very first person? We don't know each other. We don't even got each other numbers, right? Like, we don't know each other enough for you to want to tell me you're pregnant the very first time for your IVF cycle, right? So that, and I got in the car and told Babe, I said, you won't believe, the girl told me she pregnant. They pregnant. Nobody knows. But you know who knows? We do. We the only people that know. Because somehow she just felt comfortable enough. And I'm like, this got to be a trick. This got to be a sick joke. Like, what is happening? What is happening? So when I say this was the lowest at that point, and we're like, we got to do something. We have to do something different. What are we going to do? We know we ain't transferring right now. We're not transferring. We got hella embryos, but we're not going to transfer right now. At this point, we are tens of thousands. We are probably like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 into this process. I can tell you the exact number. If y'all want a separate video of the cost breakdown, I can show y'all. I kept a spreadsheet of all the costs associated with IUIs, testing, IVF, everything. Travel, everything. So we're probably $50,000, $60,000 in at this point. And we're like, we don't have a baby. These embryos aren't tested. They can't give us answers. What are we going to do? We got to do something differently. And at this point, we was like, we ain't transferring no more right now. But what are we going to do? This is the end of 2023. We are now in 2024. And part 3 of the story will tell you, I'm going to tell you in part 3 of the story what we did, how we pivoted, what changed it for us, and what brought us to our baby. So y'all check out part 3. It'll be coming soon.